Ms. Judd, you're finally back. This shameless man was trying to hit on you. I've already taught him a good lesson for you. Celeste's heels clicked sharply against the marble floor of the lobby, cutting through the chaos like a blade. Her tailored black suit was crisp, her red lipstick a stark contrast to her pale, furious face. She didn't glance at Ethan, not even when he reached out to brush a strand of hair from his forehead, trying to look casual and heroic. Instead, her eyes locked onto me, crumpled on the ground, my shade, and palms still oozing from the fountain pen wound. A flicker of something raw, fear, rage, guilt, crossed her features before she schooled her expression into icy calm. "Owen," she said, her voice low and dangerous, the kind of tone that made even the security guards freeze mid-swing of their batons. Ethan's smile faltered. He stepped back, his hands raised in a placating gesture, as if he thought a few charmed words could smooth over the mess of blood and broken phones around us. "Ms. Judd, you're just in time. This guy, he's a new assistant, and he tried to hit on you the second he walked in. I couldn't let him disrespect you like that, so I taught him a lesson." He gestured to me, proud as a peacock who'd just chased off a rival. "I even tore up the love letter he brought for you. Didn't want that trash polluting your office." Celeste's gaze drifted to the shredded paper scattered across the floor, pieces of the top-secret file Daniel had entrusted me with. Her jaw tightened. She didn't say a word. Instead, she walked past Ethan, her shoulder brushing his roughly, and knelt down beside me. Her gloved fingers gently lifted my bloodied hand, and I flinched at the touch, the pain in my palm flaring. She murmured an apology, so quiet only I could hear it, before turning her head to face Simon Irwin, who'd been watching from the sidelines with a smirk. "Simon," she said, her voice carrying through the silent lobby, "your son just assaulted a federal agent. He destroyed classified government property. And you," her eyes narrowed, glinting with a cold fury that made Simon's smirk vanish. "You stood by and let him do it. You even joined in." The words hung in the air, heavy and deadly. A murmur rippled through the crowd of onlookers. Federal agent? No one had seen that coming. Not Ethan, not Simon, not even my colleagues from the research unit, who stared at me with wide eyes. I'd never told them about my family's connection to the Judd Group, never let them know that Celeste Judd, the ruthless CEO who ruled the city's corporate world with an iron fist, was my older sister. Ethan spluttered, his face turning red. "Federal agent? That's a lie. He's a broke nobody who tried to seduce you." "Shut up," Celeste snapped. She stood up, towering over him, her posture rigid with anger. "Ozzy Judd is my brother. He's a member of the top-secret research unit that's been working on the Genesis project for the past 7 years. The file he was delivering, it's the culmination of that project. It's worth more than your entire family's fortune combined. And you," she said, leaning in, her voice a venomous whisper, "tore it to pieces." Ethan's face went ashen. He stumbled back, tripping over his own feet and landing hard on the floor. "Brother? But you never said you had a brother. You never mentioned the Judd family had another heir." Celeste laughed, a harsh, bitter sound. "Why would I? You think I'd my little brother around, letting vultures like you and your father circle him, waiting for a chance to sink your claws into the Judd fortune? Ozzy didn't want any part of this life. He chose to serve his country instead of sitting in a boardroom, signing contracts, and kissing up to investors. And you beat him within an inch of his life because you were too stupid to see past your own delusional crush." Simon recovered from his shock first. He stepped forward, his face twisted with rage. "This is a setup. You're like this brat. He's no federal agent. He's a street rat you picked up somewhere. I want proof." Celeste didn't bother to argue. She pulled a small silver device from her pocket, a federal ID badge emblazoned with the seal of the research unit and my photo. She flipped it open, holding it up for everyone to see. The crowd gasped. The security guards, who'd been ready to attack my colleagues only moments before, now looked like they wanted to sink into the floor. They dropped their batons, their faces pale with fear. "Proof enough for you, Simon?" Celeste said. She turned to the security chief, who was cowering in the corner. "Call the police. Now. Tell them we have 2 men, Ethan Irwin and Simon Irwin, who assaulted a federal agent, destroyed classified property, and attempted to obstruct a government mission. And tell them to bring backup. These 2 have friends in high places." The security chief didn't hesitate. He pulled out his phone, his hands shaking as he dialed 911. Simon cursed, lunging at Celeste, but 2 of my colleagues, big burly men who'd spent years training in hand-to-hand combat, stepped forward, grabbing him by the arms and pinning him to the wall. Ethan tried to run, but a security guard, eager to make amends for his earlier mistake, tackled him to the ground, handcuffing his wrists behind his back. Celeste knelt down beside me again, her eyes softening as she looked at my battered face. "Can you stand?" she asked. I nodded, gritting my teeth against the pain. With her help and the support of one of my colleagues, I managed to get to my feet. My body screamed in protest, every muscle aching, every cut and bruise throbbing. But I refused to collapse. Not now. Not when we'd finally won. Daniel rushed over, his face filled with relief. "Ozzy, thank God you're alive. We were so worried." "The file," I interrupted, my voice hoarse. Ethan tore it up. "Is there any way to recover it?" Daniel's expression darkened. He glanced at the shredded paper on the floor, then back at me. "The file was encrypted. The paper itself is useless without the decryption key. But there's a backup. We have a digital copy stored in the research unit's secure server. But it's not that simple." I frowned. "What do you mean?" Daniel hesitated, then leaned in, his voice low enough that only Celeste and I could hear. "The Genesis project isn't just a research project. It's a weapon. A bioweapon that can target specific genetic sequences. It was supposed to be used to neutralize terrorist cells without harming innocent civilians. But someone leaked information about it. Someone in the research unit. And we think they're working with Simon Irwin. My blood ran cold. Simon, why would he want a bioweapon? Celeste's face turned pale. Because he wants to take over the Judd Group. He's been trying to undermine me for years. If he gets his hands on the Genesis project, he can blackmail the board, threaten to release the weapon if they don't make him CEO. He can rule this city with fear. Daniel nodded. We think Simon hired the mole in the research unit. We think he knew Ozzy was delivering the file today. We think Ethan's little tantrum wasn't just a case of jealousy. It was a distraction. While we were all focused on Ozzy, the mole was breaking into the server room, trying to steal the digital copy of the file. My mind raced. Everything clicked into place. Ethan's sudden attack, Simon's decision to join in, the way they'd drawn attention to me, making a scene that had attracted half the city. It wasn't just a case of a delusional intern and his greedy father. It was a carefully planned heist. Is the server room secure? Celeste asked, her voice tight with fear. Daniel shook his head. The mole had clearance. They knew the codes. They could be inside right now. We need to get back to the research now. Celeste didn't waste any time. She turned to one of her assistants, who'd just arrived on the scene. Cancel all my meetings for the rest of the day. Call my driver. Tell him to bring the armored car. We're going to the research unit. She turned back to me, her eyes filled with concern. You need to go to the hospital, Ozzy. You're hurt. I'm fine, I said, cutting her off. I need to be there. This is my mission. I'm not going to sit in a hospital bed while Simon Irwin steals a bioweapon that could kill thousands of people. Celeste hesitated, then nodded. Okay, but if you pass out, I'm carrying you to the hospital myself. No arguments. I smiled, wincing as the movement pulled at the cuts on my face. Deal. The drive to the research unit was tense. Celeste sat beside me, dabbing antiseptic on my cuts, her hands gentle despite her usual tough exterior. My colleagues sat in the back, talking quietly, their voices filled with worry. The armored car rumbled down the street, windows tinted black, its doors reinforced with steel. Outside, the city buzzed with life, oblivious to the danger that lurked just beneath the surface. When we arrived at the research unit, we found chaos. The front door was smashed in, the security guards lying unconscious on the floor. The lights were flickering, the alarm blaring. Daniel cursed, drawing his gun. Stay close, he said. The mole could still be here. We moved through the building, our guns raised, our footsteps silent. The research unit was a maze of hallways and labs, filled with expensive equipment and top-secret documents. We passed the lab where I'd spent countless hours working on the Genesis project. I'd laughed and argued with my colleagues, where I'd dreamed of making the world a safer place. Now, it was a crime scene. We reached the server room at the end of the hallway. The door was wide open. Inside, a figure was hunched over the main server, typing furiously on a keyboard. It was a woman, Dr. Elena Marquez, one of the lead scientists on the Genesis project. One of my closest friends. Elena? I said, my voice filled with shock. What are you doing? Elena froze. She turned around, her face pale, her eyes filled with tears. In her hand, she held a small USB drive, the digital copy of the Genesis project file. Ozzy, she said, her voice trembling. I'm sorry. I didn't have a choice.